Wow, I'm feeling perky. Welcome back, Juicy News. Bitcoin, $79,000. We are pushing a bit higher. Are we going to do the bull flag, friends, or is it going to be a continuation? We've got a lot of juicy stuff coming your way. We have Scott Percent, US Treasury Secretary Scott Percent. He comes out, he literally flashes out his lollipop. He says, listen here, Mr. Market, I am going to buy $4 billion doonies of those bonds, but I would now like to draw your attention. And then he unzips his pants and he says, I want to draw your attention to the rest of the treasury account. There is 1 trillion in there. I am going to be using some of that money, if I want to pump up the bonds. So you be a good boy and start sending down those yields, aka buy up the bonds and front run us. We've also got Circle, friends. Circle resuming the minting. They minted $500 million doonies of USDC on Solana. God knows what we're doing there, because you have 7,000 Indian devs who are literally just making JPEG coins and rugging everyone. As we know, friends, as well, that's what Solana does. They do count you. If you just literally make a JPEG and rug someone in 6 seconds, you are considered a developer. But maybe it's got something to do with the tokenization super cycle, or a lot of the other juicy stuff as well, friends. We'll also be briefly mentioning the war between US of A and Canada, our beautiful land of maple syrup. President Trump basically just going in there, putting some kidney shots. We'll see what happens, friends. This is actually MicroStrategy's stock. Look at it, friends. It's literally up from the bottom. It is up about 50%, which is wild. I'm going to show you some cope and stuff coming out later on. We have BTC. This is where we're pushing on right now. Near $79,000. We're effectively $79,000. Of course, friends, there's a giant big level here. If you can see in the faint background, okay, I'll just make it a bit significant for you to see. You can just see this is the Mt. Gox Ponzi fractal bear market of 2014, 2015. Do you remember, friends? I've literally had this on since literally the bottom, literally right here. And it's been the same thing the whole way. Isn't it wild that we're here? And I just remember I guessed, for some reason, I just guessed, I go, man, what if they actually give us the Clarity Act here? And then everyone keeps buying. Now, here's the thing, friends. You might find rest of retail, they are still sidelined. All right, so you don't know what you're going to get. But I can tell you unequivocally, undeniably, everybody's still sidelined. No one's buying. No way. No one's buying. Friends, you understand, dude, if you're patiently waiting for a $40,000 Bitcoin, okay, because you're seeing, say, Ben Copen, the Messiah, worshipped, and you're saying, okay, $40,000 Bitcoin, $500 Ethereum, altcoins are down 90% from today. So if XRP's, it was about $1.10, they're expecting 11 cents. You understand? Chainlink was $10, expecting $1. Okay, they're expecting Hex was down 99.74%. They expect it to go down 99.9%. All right, and then they go, okay, now I'm finally ready to come in as a retailer. That's what they're all waiting for. There is literally zero chance after you've been thinking that way, well, you expect to see Bitcoin with a 40,000 in front. You expect Ethereum to have $500 doonies because of Uncle Bob Lucas, Ben Copen, literally every other crypto influencer. If you're expecting to get a $30 soy, okay, you're watching Ivan on Tech every single day, the technologist saying, $30 soy, $30 soy. I'm waiting for $30 soy. Don't be a sucker. Don't buy here. When you're watching that every single day, you don't suddenly decide, I know what's a good idea. Let me go all in right now. Okay, 0% chance. The market, it never does this. You kind of wish it almost does, but it doesn't. All right, it's a process of showing strength. Because remember, friends, these people who have sold, they are the L word losers. All right, they sell down markets. Do you understand? They want to buy up markets, but they don't all buy at the same time. There's 100 people. The first 5 buy at the start, and then the next 30, and then the next 20, and the next 5, and then when finally everyone's in, they're buying at the most extreme point. And what you actually find is, you know, the people who are buying in the first, the people who have decided to step it in here, they haven't even done full clip. They've just started to enter. What you'll find is as it goes higher and higher, and they see strength, okay, we might actually get something like this. As they see more strength, they actually start compounding and pyramid buying as well, which eventually leads them into hot water. So this is where the BTC is right now. What we're going to do, friends, I'll just jump right into, let's look at the fractals of what's happening, because we are actually following the fractal Aroonies of BTC in the past. If you see, we are literally right here. We've had these big green candle, all right, and this is a very similar area to what happened in Bitcoin's past. You know, friends, this fractal of Bitcoin, it's a 1 hour chart. But it's what it did in the year 2017. You can see in 2017, it's kind of funny. Our friend Chris, friends, if you in my telegrams, Chris 1000X, because I remember his story. he started paying attention to crypto, like when he heard about it, Bitcoin and crypto in September 2017. Bitcoin went from 5K and then it crashed down to about 3. That's the crash. 5K went to about 3,300. It was the crash and then a recovery, and then it literally went up and to the right. And obviously it finishes at 20K by the end of the year. So it's very similar what these price actions have been doing. It's just that in our crash, what happened in February this year, we did not go to like 40K. All right, there was not this giant wick down, which is kind of what you'd expect since you have a more mature market now. Now, I just want to quickly throw this in here and just show you. If you notice this pattern of how this thing plays out, it is, friends, literally a lockout rally. You understand? We've had the stab up, which is what's happened in the past. Then you have this little bull flag. Everyone's waiting for lower. And then you have another stab up, all right? Another stab up here. You never know. We might actually get a Clarity Act move up here, which is funny. And then we might come back down, which is hilarious. And we come back down for the retest. You can see this level right here. The level will be about $82,000. We come up with a retest. And then, man, this is going to be the funniest part. You know, if we actually follow this, we are now around the midterm elections right here. You want to know what's crazy? This is where 2027 is. And then it might come down to the wire. It might come down to the Pokemon Center music. This is Pokemon Center music, friends. You go in there, you heal your Pokemon, you're getting the nice blip, 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 blip. Your health points are going higher. But the final month of this year, it might come down to Bitcoin and its decision. Is it going to charge above $88,000 and touch it to make the candle green? Or is it going to go down to poopy town? So, look, man, you know how these things work, dude. Look, they're all sidelined, okay? They're all sidelined. You bought stocks, AI, software. You bought Pokemon cards, which you don't blame. Now you're in One Piece. Okay, now you're in Yu-Gi-Oh! You understand? You're a Pokemon guy, bro. Stop thinking that you're a Yu-Gi-Oh! Guy. You're not a Yu-Gi-Oh! Guy. You're never a Yu-Gi-Oh! Guy. You understand? Yu-Gi-Ohs. Okay? They bought all these Micron, MU. They bought gold. They bought silver. It would be a very sad, rage-filled reality if we do get this scenario where we actually do finish green for this year. Okay? We do. And you gotta imagine the absolute... Oh, I've been telling you this. Do you understand the bubble rage everyone would have? Do you gotta look around? Imagine the fact if this finishes green. Like, you just gotta get it through your head. Do you understand? These people have been yelling 4-year cycle, 4-year cycle, 4-year cycle, 4-year cycle the whole time. I'm smarter than you. Ben Copen, $500 ETH. You're going home, you're going home. They've been yelling that all day, every day, forever. If we finish green this year, it would literally be the biggest spit in the face, because they would have to admit, which they won't, they would have to slowly admit that they've wasted 33% of this bull market already, because their favorite messiahs got them to sell the low. They sold Bitcoin at 60K. You heard them. They sold Bitcoin at 60K. They sold Ethereum. Oh, don't think Ethereum is cheap at 1,800. It's going to 500. All of these bad mistakes. And then the only thing they can do from that point, they'll go point to a random altcoin and they'll go, oh, but you're still down from 5 years ago. That's how you know they've totally lost the plot. Because they're always focusing on the past. They can't look at anything about the future. Because you understand, like, you got to have the vision, dude. You got to believe, okay? So think about the future. You actually just got to believe that it's all got to work out. But if they knew how to believe, they wouldn't be paying thousands of dollars for an indicator here or a private group over there and basically getting rinsed. Now let's crack on, friends. This is the Bitcoin chart on the weekly. You can see the RSI has thrusted above the 50. All right. So this is a common Bitcoin. It's now entering the bull big phase. All right. The bigger phase. It doesn't start big. It starts low and then it keeps winding up. And that is the RSI going above the 50. So, you know, RSI is just a basic indicator. There's different ways to use it, friends. Look, the way most noobs use the RSI indicator is when it's up, they sell. When it's down, they buy. It basically just doesn't work. You understand? If you really want it to work in crypto, you got to use enormous time frames. You got to use like above a weekly, but even the weekly is not guaranteed, because you got to look at it here, friends. When the RSI hit in like low levels back in the past, check it here. You're buying Bitcoin on the collapse, and you got to wait a long time. And then if you sell it when it gets expensive, look at this. You're selling Bitcoin before the Bitcoin spot ETF. Okay, you're selling it here with Gareth Soloway and Ben Copen saying we're going down to 2K Bitcoin or whatever, $10,000 Bitcoin, and then you end up getting mogged hard. You understand? So that's there's no free lunch here. And now that's how the noobs kind of use it. Okay, but another way to use it is if it's below 50, you're trying to sell the rallies. All right. And if it's above 50, now you start to buy the dips. Okay. And look, just to let you know, you can statistically test this. You don't actually get higher odds when it comes to that. There is no free lunch. As the market becomes more mature, if you look at the S&P 500 with the RSI, there's actually no pattern at all. It's literally, it's actually garbage. Actually, I should show you. And I've actually got it for you right here. Okay, I've got it right here. Look at the bottom chart. Okay, that's nicer for you. This is the RSI and this is the S&P 500 on the weekly. Friends, look how absolutely insanely garbage it is to use it. You'll see, look at this, look at this. The S&P 500, this is buying after the zombie virus. Sure, it goes low. Yeah, it goes low. But then look at this. It just grinds and grinds and grinds and grinds and grinds and grinds. And then look when it's low again. Is it not funny? Look when it's... Imagine you're waiting for this and then you sell. So you bought the S&P here and then you sell 33% higher because it hits the high. But then look at this. When it hits the low again, it goes up another 35%, comes back down. It's only up. It's up. It's still up 3%. From the low. And this is like, that was like an easy move as well. Look at here. It never even hits here. See this? Look at this. Imagine you're buying on the tariffs. You miss this. It's not even that good. You can't even use it. Look at, and by the way, look at this is hell. You get a dip buy in 2008 GFC. This is the weekly chart. And then look at this. You get the next dip buy 3 years later. Isn't that crazy? But that's what happens. There's no free lunch. Look, this is what I love. Just see. You know, this is, look, one day, there's a lot of TradFi people, they're still not looking at crypto, which I totally get. But when once a while, I do speak to, you know, a trader who's I used to trade with, you know, boys, girls, who, and as well, who know the game. Maybe they're in stocks and stuff. And I always tell them, I go, dude, you didn't understand how easy it is here. You have no idea how low the knowledge is. Like people in crypto, they don't know that you can't use the RSI to go just make money off the S&P 500, you know, and they're shocked. They're shocked. I go, yeah, like a basic index, they don't know that. They're like, no, that's impossible. I go, yeah, they don't know that. They're literally just giving money to influencers who tell them just garbage like that, or just they dress their own indicator up. Like they don't understand that the S&P 500 is $40 trillion. And if you could really time it with this stuff, you'd be getting a George Soros $2 trillion freaking fund, and you'd be milking everything, and you'd have more power than the US government effectively, because you'd just be compounding it over time. They don't understand that. So that's why it tells you how new everyone is, how low information here. That's why it's actually easy here. But the thing is, like, you got to think about, okay, there are easy pockets, but what's easy? Obviously, the retail, the Binance trading and stuff, you're getting destroyed. Hyperliquid, we've shown all the stats as well, like 300,000 accounts. People who are profitable 1 month, zero predictability in the next month. But how is it easy? How is it easy, right? Obviously, you got to find out how it's easy. No one's going to do the work here for you. Well, you know, your friend Sommi has for you. But it's easy because people are literally selling things down 80%, down 85, down 90, down 95, down 99. And it's got nothing to do with the fundamentals. Okay, it's just how they feel. They're selling that like, oh, you're not cool anymore. And they'll like completely not look at the fact that there's a community still there, which is crazy. But this is what we want, right? Like, no one's going to sell you Apple at 99% down, because everybody knows what cash flow means. Everybody knows, hey, there's balance sheet, there's assets and stuff out here. But yeah, you can see the assets. In crypto, you can't see them. It's all intangible. You cannot see the actual assets. You got to feel it. You got to see, oh, there's engagement here, or these people don't give up. You understand that? We don't know how to measure that yet. One day we will. Until then, we've got our nice squiggly line fractals. Hopefully we do get that lockout rally. This is another form of the recovery, friends. This is the XRP chart, actually. And it could do a drop back down to 67,000 and screw everyone over and then go up higher. So this is a very slower sideways chop recovery. We don't know what we're going to get. We hope we get the up only one, but you just don't know. Maybe altcoins, see, you never know, right? Maybe Bitcoin is more mean reverty and altcoins are moving up and up over time. You don't know what it is. And I don't want to bet on that, by the way, you know, because literally all retail is sidelined. This is the altcoin market with the racist Russell 2000. We finally got this mean reversion, starts to ticky up. You could see the racist Russell 2000 had the big alligator jaws. It's literally led itself everything up. And this gap is basically our bear market pain. You're seeing this giant thing, but you know, on one side we say, oh, it's an intergalactic curse, yeah, for Ethereum third cycle curse. Yeah, there is that. But on the other end, I've shown you in the 1990s, it was a similar thing. Because tech, this is what happened. This is mass crowd psychology over long bull trends. You don't have much data points for this, but this is what happens. The tech it runs for like, let's say 5 years or whatever. At that point, that's when the average bull market's meant to stop. The economy is meant to start having jitters. Okay. However, once a generation, you have a massive tech unique increase. In the 1990s, it was obviously the internet, and now we have AI. Now, in this special period, because it's so strong, when the economy looks like it's about to roll over, what happens is spending and belief and pumping of revenue, whatever it is, all comes into that new tech. Because the market basically stalls, and it's like it's time for, you got to think about altcoins. It's like altcoins going into a bear market, but then the market focuses on that new tech, and people say, oh my gosh, this thing is changing the world. And it's actually not retail yet. It's all the insiders. The insiders, like you got this Amazon, Apple, everybody's spending billions of dollars on AI. And that is what goes for the second leg up. However, they just focus on the new tech. They don't look at anything else. Obviously, as we've seen with crypto, right? So last year, what happens? $1.5 trillion gets minted. It all goes into AI, all of it. Nothing touches crypto at all. And so this is what happened in the late 1990s. In the second leg up, it all just goes straight. Internet, and it goes up and up and up and up and up like that. And so whenever we're looking at the alligator jaws, well, like crypto hasn't moved, but tech has gone up, and people are saying, oh, crypto is broken, right? But actually, no, this is what happens on these big mass bull trends, which happens. You have these disconnect. The leader and the laggard, first they're moving up together. Okay, so you imagine like this, they're moving up together. And then eventually what happens is the AI or the tech one just goes like, whoa, it just does this huge move up. And then everyone thinks, oh, it's totally cooked. No. Eventually it stops. When it stops, because the market, what it does, the market's a good pricing mechanism. It knows, it goes, oh, wait a minute. Now that you've spent this money, the world in the future is now changed. There's more GDP. The margin of borrowing is lower. It's more productive. All right, we're enhancing workers. We're enhancing companies. So that future is more optimistic. And so what the market does is it then reprices the junk. You get it? But that's what we call like I call the grand rotation, okay, which everyone, I guess, is waiting for. But retail thinks they're going to time it. You're not going to be able to time it. Let's continue, friends. Bitcoin has had its largest weekly gain since March 2023. Some stats there for you, plus 23% on the weekly. Michael Chad Saylor has added $1.6 billion in reserves. So what did he do? He diluted MSTR. Now, friends, I want to tell you something as well. I'll show you the MSTR chart, the Michael strategy right here. You can see it on the weekly. Uncle Peter Schiff is in maximum cope and rage. Uncle Peter Schiff, friends, he is replying to Michael Chad Saylor. Okay, Uncle Peter Schiff, he goes, yeah. It's funny, he's really upset that MSTR is being diluted and it's being used to buy Bitcoin and buy the reserves. He's really pissed off. But you might say, oh, but Tommy, he has every right to be pissed off. No, the thing is though, all right, when STRC was at the bottom, he said this thing is never going back up. By the way, it's at $97. He said it's never going up because Michael Saylor's trapped. He can't do this and he can't do that and everything's cooked. Wrong. He sold Bitcoin. He took Bitcoin at a loss, added it to the reserves, and then he even diluted some MSTR. And it's actually gone up. That's why, friends, it's in maximum rage. Remember, friends, I told you, MSTR is the most shorted stock in the world. All right? The most shorted stock in the world. That's why every retailer scum, they literally think that they are smarter than everyone else. Look, you understand, you don't have any extra information that the world doesn't know, dude. You think, oh, did you know Michael Saylor's running a Ponzi? Guess what, bro? The whole world heard about that. Oh, did you know he's turbo long Bitcoin? Yes. Yes, dude, we did know. We've known that for a long time. We actually know a lot. Everybody couldn't shut up about it for 18 hours a day in every single news channel, every single media. Yes, we do know. Tell us something we don't know. They have nothing. So you got to think, okay, what information are you trading off? Because I know you're trading, you're not investing, that's for sure. What extra information do you have? None. So you have no edge, and you've joined every other person in the world to be short the Michael strategy Ponzi, which is funny. Okay, so these things always end up with they always end up with a vertical pop-up, right? Even that's going to be in a third cycle curse probably. And Uncle Peter Schiff, yeah, just continues to cope as well. But as well, I want to throw something out here. Speaking of Uncle Peter Schiff and cope, friends, gold has done a thrusting move up. Now, a lot of people, friends, they really think that this means, oh, gold's going to, you already seeing, oh, so gold's going to 7,000, gold's going to 7,000. I don't know, man. I don't know. Retail got in here. Look, honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if the best thing you get is this thing goes up and then it comes back down and it does the big wedge. All right, it does the big wedge, something like this. Everyone thinks it's going on higher, comes back down, or you just never know, man. Maybe it does a channel like this. Maybe that's what happens. Goes up, hits 5,000. Uncle Peter Schiff says 7,000's next, and then it comes back down as we have a bull market, right, before we go on higher. I just want to see if that is this a consistent thing with gold? Gold usually drops. Does it drop? This 43%. That's a big move. Maybe it only drops back to 30%. So you just got to be careful of these. This is classic altcoin crypto stuff where retail gets in, and then every time there's a pump, they think new highs, new highs, new highs. They always think that. Not they, like we've always been there, right? Everyone's always like saying, oh, new highs, new highs. But then new highs never comes. You just see that everybody's trapped. Speaking of trapped, the US Treasury might be trapped. Scott Bessent says the US Treasury's got $1 trillion if they need to pump the money into bonds for buybacks. Now, of course, they won't spend all of that. They want the market to front run them. He also said every country supporting Iran should be prepared to face US sanctions. Now, friends, one of your friends asked me, Sommi, how do you know this rally's real compared to in crypto compared to everything else? Well, this is why, friends. Because if you go to the 30-year bond, okay? If you go to the 30-year bond, I'll show you. When Scott Bessent said, we're going to start buying back the bonds, we had this green candle. Immediately the next 2 days, we retraced the whole move. Do you see this? Look at this. We literally retraced the whole move. And Bitcoin and crypto has held the high. You understand? We didn't dump back down. We didn't bar down yet, did we? No. That's how you know the move's real. That's how you know this news is even fugazi. Okay, it's not even about that there was no news. Crypto just went up because it wanted to go up. It was looking for the tiniest reason for someone to light the match and just cover shorts or something and just be like, oh, I'm just going to take a loss. And it cascaded everything. You understand? So it's actually got, technically it's got nothing to do with this, but retail's going to think so. Circle, as I told you before, friends, Circle minted 500 million USDC on Solana. So obviously that's the lifeblood of crypto. We want to see more minting come in, which shows there's more commitment to the industry. And Citadel warns that the Treasury's expanded bond buybacks could weaken the US dollar and increase inflation. Now, I've written that there because Kenny G, you can't trust him. So if they're saying, oh, be careful, the US dollar is going to go down, they're probably long. Okay, they're probably long. Or he's probably short and they're trying to cover on the bids. Okay. He's also saying, these bond buybacks could increase inflation. For all we know, they could be short bonds and they're trying to just get out of their big position. They're just saying, oh yes, inflation's going to go up. Inflation's going to go up because they want everybody else in the world to keep selling so they could just probably get filled on their longs. Okay, so you can't take these people seriously. They're all scum. President Trump raised tariffs on the Canadian baby dolls, their trucks, their cars, auto parts, and steels by 50%. So a battle literally nobody asked for or cares about. Trump just starts coming and laying into Canada. And where are you and I gonna go from here? That's a very important question. This, my friends, is others. Do you remember others, friends? Others is excluding the top 10 of crypto. It's what I call the belly of the curve. The belly. You understand? Like your belly? You understand like where risk is? This has been where we are right now. I understand it has been shocking. But this is the equivalent of Bitcoin being about $22,000 right now. That's how shocking it is. The equivalent, because it's still back to the FTX 3 hours capital now. So this is where we are. The good thing is we did get a thruster. We did. And I'll call them the blockchain backers things. So you didn't even need to tell you this, but out of the 100 coins, yes, 75 have now flickered above their moving average. Maybe like their 100-day or 50-day. I don't know exactly which one it is, but it's just showing you the girth. The girth has finally just begun. But are we out of the woods yet? This is Bitcoin, friends, with a weekly chart. We've been waiting so long for this weekly super trend to flip green. Isn't it funny? Look at it. You can actually see it, friends. It goes above it twice and it's wicked above it. They keep selling it. It's funny. 79,500. The magical weekly super trend. So we are sitting around here. If we close above, there you go, above 79,700 for the week, it will be flipping green. And then I guess everything's going to start the next move. And the next move will be, once again, more hope and disbelief. Like, subscribe, catch you in the next one.